everyone wants a good job. Everyone wants a good school for their children. Everyone wants a safe neighborhood. And so when you start talking, and when I think about going back to the last presidential election, and when I think about the Democratic nominee, every time she spoke, she would always mention, and this is just an example, every time she spoke, she'd mention transgender. They're 1% of the population.
Right.
While that's a topic that needs to be discussed, it's such a small group. So, that was to your point, that I think that conservatism that's in the Black community, when you hear that talk spoken about every single time, it's off-putting.
Yeah, and so much of transgenderism has been shoehorned into the Negro civil rights movement. Democrats and liberals have gotten to the point where if you are unwilling to accept this umbrella mashup of identities, if you can't accept all of it, then they don't want to be bothered with you. And to your point, it's 1% of the population. And here's the other thing. Let's drill down into that 1%. What is that composed of? We have some children who are diagnosed with autism, pervasive developmental delays, who have difficulty with habits of mind and even being centered in their own body. They are represented in that trans movement. Why would we push children with developmental disabilities into mutilating their bodies, taking hormones that could permanently make them infertile? So let's go ahead and talk about how that tracks with eugenics, but still where people are pushing that. Let's also talk about the fact that there are some parents who don't want their children to be gay, and they'd rather have them transitioned into another gender, which is what we found out was happening with the Tavistock Center over in the UK.
Okay.
And then let's also talk about the fact that we have men in that transgender umbrella who simply get sexually excited about seeing themselves dressed up as a woman. That's a private thing that a person can do. Do your thing in your own bedroom, but we shouldn't tailor society and change society to accommodate sexual proclivities, the mutilation and castration, essentially, of children with disabilities and people who are genuinely have mental health concerns and feel disconnected from the body that they are in. And that's not a condemnation. That's a matter of how do we address those diverse parts of the transgender concern, rather than saying society needs to adapt and accept all of this, some of which is personal.
And I like the way that you're approaching this as from a cerebral point of view rather than an emotional point of view, because someone is going to watch this video and they're going to be offended about the way that we're characterizing this particular topic. That said, I believe we already have a social compact that we say children can't make certain decisions.
Right.
We don't allow, you have to be 16 years old before you can drive a car. You have to be 18 years old before you can enter into a contract.
Right.
You have to be 21 years old before you can, buy alcohol. But we're allowing children, essentially, to make decisions that are going to impact them for the rest of their lives, and they don't have the level of cognition to be able to make that level of decision. And we even have this information. We even know that the brain continues to develop into our 20s.
Right. Yeah.
So again,
prefrontal cortex, understanding the implications of all the things. Yeah, and so it's parents, children making decisions through parents who don't have the parenting skill, and or Munchausen's by proxy is a real thing where the parent seeks glorification through the difficulties that the child is going through. And I think that there are just some ways in which parents are trying to be equitable, and they're trying to be kind-hearted, and they're trying to accept everyone, and they're accepting too much. There are some things that should not be accommodated. I, for example, am never going to accept that pedophilia is just a sexual preference, right? And that we're going to have to.
They like the current way that they like to be referred to is a MAP.
Yeah, minor
attractive person.
If you don't get out of here with that nonsense, look, the answer is no matter what you call it. But it's wild. So we're just I think Democrats have kind of lost the plot about equity, what equity and inclusion is. The idea that if everybody's not included, then nobody is included. That makes no sense to me, because we have to have some boundaries. And now we see, when I joined the Republican Party in 2007, 2008, one of the things that concerned me was the whole love who you loved edict. Because to me, things have to have some kind of boundaries, otherwise they lose control. Now you see where love who you love, the boundarylessness of it, where it has come to, where people are actually advocating for men to have sexual relationships with children. We actually have scholars, academics saying that 2-year-olds have a sexual preference, that 2-year-olds should be able to engage in sexual activity. And I think we are a society that has gone off the rails.
That is deep. I have not read any data about that, and I don't know that I even want to.
I heard no, right?
But you said something a moment ago. You kind of touched on it, DEI. Explain to our viewers your ideology. What's the difference between equity and equality?